The kind stranger. The morning sun cast long shadows across Main Street as Emma walked slowly toward the bus stop. Her worn sneakers made soft sounds against the cracked sidewalk. In her weathered purse she counted the same $5.37 she had counted 3 times already. It was all the money she had left until her next paycheck from the diner. Emma had been working double shifts at Murphy's Diner for months now, trying to save enough money to fix her grandmother's old house. The roof leaked when it rained, and winter was coming fast. Every penny mattered. Every dollar brought her closer to keeping the only home she had ever known. She paused at the corner of Main and Oak Street, waiting for the morning bus that would take her to her second job at the grocery store. The autumn air was crisp and clean. Yellow and orange leaves danced in the gentle breeze. It was the kind of morning that usually made Emma smile. Despite her worries, that's when she noticed the old man. He stood at the edge of the busy street, leaning heavily on a wooden walking stick. His white hair caught the morning light like silver threads. He wore a simple brown coat that had seen many seasons, and his shoes were old but well cared for. He looked uncertain, almost lost, as cars rushed past him in both directions. Emma watched as he took a small step toward the street, then stepped back again. His hands shook slightly as he gripped his walking stick. The traffic light had just turned green for the cars, and they were moving fast down the hill. Too fast for an elderly man to cross safely. Without thinking, Emma walked over to him. "Excuse me, sir," she said gently. "Would you like some help crossing the street?" The old man looked up at her with kind, tired eyes. Deep lines mapped his weathered face, telling stories of many years lived under the sun. "That's very thoughtful of you, young lady," he said. His voice was warm but weak. "I'm afraid I'm not as quick as I used to be." "That's perfectly fine," Emma said, offering him her arm. "We'll wait for the light and take our time." As they stood together waiting for the pedestrian signal, Emma noticed how the old man's breathing seemed labored. His coat, while clean, was patched in several places. His shoes were polished but worn thin at the soles. Something about his quiet dignity touched her heart. "I'm Emma," she said, trying to make friendly conversation. "It's nice to meet you, Emma. I'm Harold," he replied. "Harold Peterson." When the walk signal finally appeared, they began their slow journey across the wide street. Emma matched her pace to Harold's careful steps. Halfway across, she realized they wouldn't make it before the light changed. The cars were already starting to inch forward, engines rumbling impatiently. "Don't worry," she told Harold, raising her free hand toward the waiting drivers. "We'll make it just fine." Most of the drivers waited patiently, but one man in a shiny red sports car honked his horn loudly. Harold startled at the sound, nearly stumbling. Emma steadied him with both hands. "Easy does it," she said calmly. "Some people are always in a hurry. We're doing just fine." They reached the other side safely. Harold was breathing hard from the effort, so Emma guided him to a nearby bench in the small park across the street. "Would you like to sit for a moment?" she asked. Harold nodded gratefully and settled onto the bench with a soft sigh. "Thank you, Emma. That was very kind of you." He looked at her carefully as if studying her face. Not many people would have stopped to help an old stranger. Emma sat beside him, even though she knew her bus would be coming soon. "My grandmother always taught me to help others when I can," she said simply. "She used to say that kindness comes back to you when you need it most." Harold smiled at this. "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman." "She was," Emma said, a note of sadness in her voice. "She passed away last spring, left me her old house on Elm Street. It's not much, but it's home." Something flickered in Harold's eyes at the mention of Elm Street, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an old leather wallet. "Please, let me give you something for your trouble." "Oh, no," Emma said quickly, standing up. "I don't want any money." "I was happy to help." Harold looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "It would be my pleasure." Emma shook her head firmly. "Helping people isn't something you do for money. Besides, you look like you need it more than I do." In the distance, Emma could see her bus approaching. She would have to run to catch it, and missing it would mean being late for work. She couldn't afford to lose this job. "I have to go now," she said, gathering her purse. "My bus is coming." "Will you be all right from here?" Harold nodded, still looking amazed by her refusal of money. "I'll be fine, dear. Thank you again." Emma hurried toward the bus stop, her heart feeling lighter despite her financial worries. Helping Harold had reminded her of her grandmother's gentle wisdom. Sometimes the most important things in life cost nothing at all. She made it to the bus just in time, settling into a worn seat as it pulled away from the curb. Through the window, she could see Harold still sitting on the bench, watching her bus disappear down the street. 3 days later, Emma was sweeping the front porch of her grandmother's house when a long black car pulled up to the curb. She had never seen such an expensive-looking vehicle on her quiet street. The afternoon sun gleamed off its perfect paint and chrome. A man in a dark suit got out of the driver's seat and opened the rear door. To Emma's complete amazement, Harold stepped out slowly, leaning on his walking stick. But something was different about him. His clothes were nicer now, a well-tailored coat and polished leather shoes. He looked the same, yet somehow transformed. Emma set down her broom and walked to the front gate, completely confused. "Harold? What are you doing here, and whose car is that?" Harold smiled, that same kind expression she remembered from their meeting. "Hello again, Emma. I hope you don't mind the surprise visit. I wanted to thank you properly for your kindness the other day." "I don't understand," Emma said, looking from Harold to the impressive car and back again. Harold chuckled softly. "I suppose I should explain. You see, Emma, I own most of the farmland surrounding this town. Peterson Farms, you might have heard of it?" Emma's eyes widened. Peterson Farms was huge. Everyone in town knew about it. They supplied vegetables and grain to grocery stores across 3 states. The owner was said to be one of the wealthiest people in the region. "But you seem so ... Emma began, then stopped, realizing how rude she might sound. "Ordinary," Harold finished gently. "That's exactly how I prefer it. I was coming back from a doctor's appointment that morning, and my driver had dropped me off to run an errand. I wanted to walk a bit, but I'm not as steady as I used to be." Emma felt a flush of embarrassment. She had treated one of the richest men in town like he needed her spare change. Harold seemed to read her thoughts. "Emma, what you did that day meant more to me than you'll ever know. You saw an old man who needed help, and you helped him without expecting anything in return. You refused money from someone you thought had very little. That kind of heart is rarer than any treasure." He gestured toward her house with its sagging porch and patched roof. "I've been asking around about you. People in town speak very highly of you. They tell me you're working 2 jobs to fix up your grandmother's house." Emma nodded, still too stunned to speak properly. "Well," Harold said, his eyes twinkling, "it so happens that I've been looking for someone trustworthy to manage the community outreach programs for Peterson Farms, someone who understands the value of helping others. The position comes with a very good salary and a budget for home repairs." Emma stared at him, hardly believing what she was hearing. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you the chance to help many people just like you helped me," Harold said, "and to take care of your grandmother's house the way she would have wanted." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she looked at the kind old man who had just changed her entire life. Her grandmother's words echoed in her memory. "Kindness comes back to you when you need it most." "I don't know what to say," Emma whispered. Harold smiled and patted her hand gently. "To say you'll think about it? And Emma, next time you help someone cross the street, remember that you never know whose life you might be changing, including your own." As the black car drove away, Emma stood in her front yard, watching until it disappeared around the corner. The autumn wind rustled through the trees, and for the first time in months, she felt truly hopeful about the future. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles.